We have companies like Merck boosting its outlook. That stock up almost 2% today. The NASDAQ, though, is lower, off about 5%. eBay disappointing by not boosting its forecast. That's hurting the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500 up just fractionally. As for the 10-year note, yields still firm above 5%. In fact, right now that 10-year note is at 5.03%. The U.S. dollar recovering some of the losses we have seen over the past few days. Right now trading against the euro 123.08 and against the Japanese yen there at 117.47. Let us show you the precious metals trade. A lot of debate over whether we're at the top, whether fundamentals justify where we are, and we are seeing a bit of a sell-off across the board, though gold's still above 600 and silver still above 13. Light sweet crude, the price there right now is down 72 cents. That's a full percent. We get those natural gas inventories in about 15 minutes, Mark.
All right, Bob Pisani is walking around the floor of the big board, checking out today's action. Robert, what's going on?
Well, the president and President Hu Jintao from China have not really had much of an impact on the stock market, Mark, but we're slowly creeping higher here. Now, here's what's important. We are within striking distance right now of a new 5-year high on the S&P 500. We need to get a little bit over 1312. That's a 5-year high. I'm watching that. That could be very significant here today. Gold and metal stocks are on the weak side, but let's talk very quickly about some earnings here. Phil LeBeau is going to talk a little bit more about GM, but I think it's significant. It's a lot of talk about GM down here on the floor. Look, the bad news is they're continuing to lose a lot of money. The good news is the loss is a lot narrower than it has been in a long time for General Motors, and that's why the stock is up rather nicely, about 6%. A lot of talk about Apple as well here. Apple beat the estimates, and yet they gave terrible guidance, very conservative and below the analyst consensus, yet Apple is moving up rather nicely here. What's going on? Well, remember, they got killed in the first quarter, so there's a lot of people with very low expectations. iPod sales are terrific. They're continuing to be strong, and basically, one trader said, Apple threw in the kitchen sink. This is a relief rally for them. Nokia is having a good day as well. They were up strongly all throughout the morning. They had a good earnings report. The profits were up 21%. Mobile phone sales are strong right across the world. That's helping them overall. And finally, Illinois Toolworks remains one of my favorite companies because they're one of the big diversified industrials out there, and they make all the things that you don't think about. Transmission parts and paint components and welding machines and adhesives that go into everything that's around you. They posted an absolutely knock the ball out of the court kind of quarter, increased the guidance overall. Illinois Toolworks is at a historic high here today. And the bottom line, Erin, is the businesses in the United States, the industrial side of the U.S. businesses are doing very well right now. Erin?
All right, Bob, thanks so much. And meanwhile, speaking of the industrial side of the economy, North America's largest railroad is engineering big gains. How is Union Pacific doubling profits, and is it on track to keep the momentum going? Mark's going to ask the CEO.
Indeed, but first, Phil LeBeau. How about General Motors CEO Rick Wagner told him this morning? Phil.
Mark, when we come back, we're going to take a look at General Motors, go further into the numbers. The company cut its losses by $1 billion in the first quarter. But the real question is, are the North American auto operations actually turning around? We'll have some answers and comments from Mr. Wagner when we return in just a bit.
You're watching Morning Call on the world leader in business news, CNBC.
It is a big day for General Motors. Shares are up more than
and a higher transaction cost. Let's take a look at General Motors' North American operations. And what you see when you look at that is a loss of $946 million. That's an improvement over the first quarter of last year when the company lost $1.5 billion in North America. When you look at these numbers, these are the best numbers that we've seen from General Motors in some time. The big question mark that's hanging out there, what happens with Delphi and the UAW? If GM can get past that over the next 6 to 7 weeks, then perhaps you will start to hear some people talk about some guidance of GM getting back to break even. Mark?
Thank you, Phil LeBeau. The Dow transports have been red hot, the nation's largest railroads. Part of that's mix.
And it is full speed ahead for Union Pacific as profits double in the midst of a turnaround. CEO James Young joins us next in another First on CNBC. Morning Call is back in a moment.
You're watching Morning Call on the world leader in business news, CNBC.
All right, right, we are back. We're not doing too badly today. Check it out. The Dow is up 90 points. That's better than poking the eye with a sharp stick. And the NASDAQ, it could be better, you know. Oh, no, that's the S&P. I'm sorry. The S&P is up 0.5%. Let me see. And the Dow, that's better than 0.5% on the Dow. The NASDAQ is kind of poking along up, too. Things are chugging along for Union Pacific. Nation's largest railroad says profits more than doubled in the first quarter. That beat Wall Street forecasts. Despite the news, shares of Union Pacific are currently trading lower by...
Today is we're all handling record volume, and which is a great problem to have.
Now, this volume on your railroad, the Union Pacific, what does this volume consist of? Mostly bulk commodities or manufactured goods or what?
No, we were our volume's up 4% here in the first quarter, and we had strong. Our intermodal business was strong. Our agricultural products, areas like ethanol, strong. Finished vehicles were up quite strong here in the first quarter. So really across.
Thank you very much to Mr. Young, who runs Union Pacific. Aaron.
I think we're going to just a moment away from that key energy data. We're going to take a break.
Yep.
We'll be back. The Energy Department releasing the weekly inventory data for natural gas. Sharon Epperson is at the New York Mercantile Exchange with what we're expecting and what we're going to get. Sharon.
Well, we were expecting to see a buildup in natural gas stocks, and we did in fact see a buildup of 47 billion cubic feet. Now, many analysts were expecting somewhere around the $50 billion range, Platts was saying 58 billion. FEMA was at 41. So this is not that much of a surprise if you look at where natural gas is trading. Earlier in the session, we had been about, the high of was $8.23. We're about $8 now, and there's not that much of a difference then. It's coming down a little bit, but it's really not that significant. Again, the focus here at the NYMEX has been on crude, the situation in Iran, Nigeria.
The market's very much in the green. Bob Pisani's been reporting on it. Now, we're off of the high hit just a moment ago in the session, but right now the Dow is up close to 87 points at 11,365. As for the NASDAQ, also higher, and that's important because we had been lower. That had been the one index actually in the red. eBay had been one of the stocks contributing to the decline. And the S&P 500 is up 6 points at 1315. Mark is on the floor, and we're going to be back with him in just a few moments. He has all the action and all the stocks you need to keep an eye on. And also ahead, the head of an investment fund who's taking aim at Pfizer over CEO Hank McKinnell's compensation. Is Pfizer the right target, and just how much money does Hank McKinnell make? A debate straight ahead on Morning Call. And first, here's a look at the Rolling Stones rocking in front of thousands earlier this month in Shanghai. The band didn't get much satisfaction when Chinese censors wouldn't allow them to perform 4 of their hits, including Let's Spend the Night Together. Mick Jagger responded by saying the band had more than 400 songs to choose from. We'll be right back.
Did you know that you have 14
From currency to trade to tariffs to human rights, the issues are huge. Can they find common ground? Reports continue today on CNBC.
The hustle and the bustle of commerce down here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. This is where Bob Pisani lives his life.
And we just had half of West Point walk right by us. I'm kidding, not kidding, half of West Point was just in front of us.
Every one of these kids, these young men, they were shaped like this.
Yep.
Their shoulders were this wide and their waist, they're a fantastic looking bunch of young men.
Don't want to mud wrestle any of these guys.
No, here comes some more of them.
All right, gentlemen. See, look, we're not lying. Here, take a look here. Huh? You want to mess with any of these guys here? Smile, guys. Huh? There they are.
Anyway, back to business. The market is having another nice day.
Yeah,
up
what we've
75
got
and-
is a stealth rally here,
Stealth
and this
rally.
is a lot related to earnings as for the first time in a while. And what's important is it's not just an average stealth rally because we were just below highs. Mark, we're here. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, if we close here, is a 6-year high.
Yeah.
If we close with here on the S&P 500, it's a 5-year high. We're getting contributions from the industrial stocks. The S&P Industrial Index is at a historic high. So Illinois Tool Works or Cooper Tires is doing well. Techs are contributing. Apple is Bafo, even though their guidance wasn't that great. Some of the other techs are doing well.
Yeah,
Some of the HMOs
Intel's
are
doing okay, even though the report was not that great.
Intel, remember, there's been a 52-week close.
Yeah.
And remember, Apple got badly beaten up in the first quarter, so you're getting relief rallies here. So the important thing here is we've got some decent commentary. We've got a stealth rally with the indices at new high. This is going to pull in some more buyers at this point. And of course, there's always that question about whether you should buy at a top, obviously. But look at the volume. Not bad here. 500 million almost for 11 o'clock Eastern time. This is going to make some headlines today. If we can close right here, a 6-year high on the Dow, a 5-year high in the S&P, and we're 400 points from an historic high on the Dow at this point, this will definitely pull. Well, it was 11,750, wasn't it? 2,000?
It's 11,750. I know
I
it was
think so.
11,7 something.
11,750.
I'm going to call it 350 away from
So
that.
we're you just love to be a contrarian.
I just wanted to get there.
Yeah. So, look, this is important, I think. This is the kind of day where we don't have oil to blame. We don't have the Federal Reserve. This is a very quiet little rally right across the board, and the key movers are some of the earnings makers. And I've been talking about Illinois Tool Works and Cooper Tires.
Yeah, I know.
These
What
are
is
the
with you?
companies. Well, because
love
these
that
are the
Illinois
companies
Tool-
you and I understand. They make all the things that are around us that nobody ever notices, the coatings and the machines that make the machines.
Yeah.
They're the industrial core of the country.
That's why I love talking to the CEO of Union Pacific.
Right.
It's a
You can
railroad. You know
understand
what
them.
they
Exactly.
do. You got to figure out what they do. All right. Thank you very much, Bob Pisani. Back upstairs to Aaron.
That stock, that Illinois Tool Works, you can't get enough of that, Bob. It's up 3% today. Well, the dollar's